The year was 2147. Humans had spread beyond Earth to Mars, Europa, and even planets around other stars. After many years of fighting among themselves, the people of Earth had joined together to form the Global Defense Initiative, or GDI for short. The GDI kept peace in all the places where humans lived. Lieutenant Samantha Reeves sat at her desk on the big GDI ship called USS Ranger. Her job was to listen to messages from space. Most days were boring. She would hear the same signals from human ships and bases, but today was different. A strange sound came through her headphones. At first she thought her equipment was broken. The sound had a pattern that seemed too complex to be random noise, but it didn't match any human code, she knew. "Captain Mitchell, I think you should hear this," she said, calling her commander. Captain Alan Mitchell walked onto the bridge with quick steps. He had fought in the war on Mars 10 years ago and still walked like he was always in a hurry. His gray eyes looked tired but alert. "What have you found, Lieutenant?" he asked. Samantha played the signal again. The strange sounds filled the room. Everyone on the bridge stopped to listen. "Can we tell where it's coming from?" Captain Mitchell asked. Samantha checked her screen. "Yes, sir. It's coming from beyond Tau Ceti in Sector 47. The captain frowned. "That's outside our normal space. Intelligence thinks the Valorians control that area." The Valorians were aliens that humans knew about but had never met. They had a big space empire but had always stayed away from human territory. "Get Dr. Holt up here," Captain Mitchell ordered. "If anyone can figure out this message, it's him." Dr. Kevin Holt was the ship's expert on alien languages. He was tall and thin with messy brown hair that looked like he often forgot to comb it. When he arrived on the bridge, Samantha played the signal for him. His eyes got wide. "This is incredible," he said. "Give me some time to study it." For 3 days, Dr. Holt barely left his office. He didn't sleep much. The crew brought him food, but most of it went cold before he remembered to eat it. He worked with computers to break down the signal into patterns. On the morning of the 4th day, Dr. Holt ran onto the bridge. His face was pale, and he looked like he hadn't slept at all. "Captain, I know what the signal is," he said, his voice shaking a little. "It's not just random noise, it's a message from an alien species called the Ardani." Captain Mitchell stood up straight. "What does it say?" Dr. Holt took a deep breath. "It's a call for help. The Ardani are being attacked by the Valorians. Their words translate roughly to, 'They take our worlds, our children. If you hear us, if you can fight, please come.'" The bridge went quiet. Everyone looked at each other. Humans had never tried to help an alien species before. "Are you sure about this translation?" Captain Mitchell asked. "Yes, sir," Dr. Holt nodded. "The math language they use is clear once you understand their base system. They've included coordinates at the end of the message." Captain Mitchell walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. After a minute of thinking, he turned around. "Lieutenant Reeves, send a message to GDI Command. Tell them everything we've learned and request permission to investigate." "Yes, sir," Samantha said, already typing the message. 2 days later, they got their answer. Admiral Patricia Turner, the head of GDI Command, appeared on the main screen. "Captain Mitchell," she said, her face serious. "What you've discovered is troubling. If these Ardani are really being attacked, we need to know more. But we cannot rush into an alien conflict without understanding the situation." Captain Mitchell nodded. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "Take the Ranger and 2 support ships, the Intrepid and the Dauntless, to the coordinates. Observe only. Do not engage unless attacked first. If these Ardani really need help, we need to know exactly what we would be getting into." "Understood, Admiral. We'll prepare to leave immediately." The next morning, the 3 GDI ships moved toward the jump gate that would take them to Tau Ceti. From there, they would travel to the coordinates sent by the Ardani. Jump gates were new technology. They could bend space to create shortcuts between star systems. The trip that would have taken years now took only days. As the USS Ranger approached the jump gate, Captain Mitchell called everyone together. "We're about to go farther than any human ship has gone before," he said. "We don't know what we'll find on the other side, but we do know that someone has asked for our help. In the history of space exploration, this is the first time we've heard a cry from another intelligent species. How we respond will say a lot about who we are as humans. Lieutenant Samantha Reeves felt a chill go down her spine. This was bigger than just a mission. This could change how humans saw themselves in the universe. The three ships entered the jump gate one by one. There was a strange stretching feeling as the gate activated. Stars seemed to blur around them. Then, with a flash of light, they were in the Tau Ceti system. From there, they used a second jump gate to reach the coordinates in the Ardani message. When they arrived, the sight made everyone on the bridge gasp. They saw a star system with a dying sun. Around it circled a few planets, but one of them showed clear signs of attack. Parts of the planet glowed from fires that were big enough to see from space. "Scan for life forms," Captain Mitchell ordered. Samantha checked the sensors. "I'm picking up about 300 life signs on the surface, sir. They're gathered in underground areas, probably hiding. And there's something else. A ship in orbit around the planet. It's not human design." "The Valorians," Captain Mitchell said quietly. "Sir," Samantha said, "I think I can establish contact with the life forms on the planet." "Do it," the captain ordered. After a few minutes of sending signals, a response came through. The main screen showed an alien face. The being had blue skin, large eyes that seemed to glow, and delicate features. It looked scared but also hopeful. I am Elder Guardian Zintal of the Ardani," the alien said in a voice that sounded like music. "You received our message?" Captain Mitchell stepped forward. "We heard your cry. We've come to help." Before the Ardani could respond, alarms went off across the bridge. "Sir, the Valorian ship has spotted us," Samantha called out. "They're charging weapons." "Red alert," Captain Mitchell ordered. "All hands to battle stations. It looks like we're about to meet the Valorians after all." The Valorian ship fired first. A bright beam of energy shot across space toward the USS Ranger. Captain Mitchell gripped his chair as the ship shook from the impact. "Shields holding at 80%, called out Officer Paul Nelson from his station. "Return fire," Captain Mitchell ordered. "Target their weapon systems only." The Ranger fired back. Blue pulses of energy struck the Valorian ship, causing small explosions along its hull. "Sir, the Intrepid and Dauntless are moving into position," Samantha reported. The three human ships formed a triangle around the Valorian vessel. Though the alien ship was larger, it was now outnumbered. "They're charging weapons again," Paul warned. Captain Mitchell pressed a button on his chair. All ships, evasive pattern Delta. The GDI ships moved in perfect coordination, dodging most of the Valorian attack. The few hits they took did little damage to their shields. "Their technology is advanced," said Dr. Holt, who had stayed on the bridge. "But their tactics are simple. They don't seem to expect us to move so unpredictably." Captain Mitchell nodded. "Lieutenant Reeves, open a channel to the Valorian ship." Samantha worked at her console. "Channel open, sir." "Valorian vessel. This is Captain Alan Mitchell of the Earth Global Defense Initiative. We have no quarrel with you. We are here in response to a distress call. Cease fire immediately and let us talk." There was no response. Instead, the Valorian ship fired again, this time hitting the Dauntless. "Dauntless reports minor damage, sir," Samantha said. "Their shields are at 60%. Captain Mitchell's face hardened. "They've made their choice. Commander Howard, prepare a boarding party." Jack Howard was the leader of the ship's Marines. He stood tall and strong in his battle armor. "Yes, sir, my team is ready." "Disable that ship," Mitchell ordered. "I want prisoners, not casualties if possible. We need information." "Understood, Captain," Howard replied with a nod, while the Intrepid and Dauntless kept firing to distract. The Valorian ship, the Ranger, moved closer. From its launch bay, 3 small craft shot out. These were boarding shuttles, each carrying 10 Marines. The shuttles moved fast, too quick for the Valorian ship to target. They attached to the hull of the alien vessel like ticks on a dog. "Boarding teams attached," Samantha reported. "They're cutting through now." Inside the Valorian ship, Commander Howard led his Marines through dark corridors. The walls were made of a strange metal that seemed to glow with a dull purple light. "Stay alert," Howard told his team. "We don't know what these aliens look like or how they fight." They turned a corner and saw their first Valorians. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like stone. They had 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow with anger. "GDI forces, drop your weapons," Howard shouted. The Valorians raised their guns. Energy beams shot toward the Marines, who ducked behind corners and doorways. "Non-lethal force if possible," Howard reminded his team. They fired back with stun rounds, electricity crackling as it hit the Valorians. 3 of the aliens fell to the ground, their bodies twitching. The fight for the ship lasted 20 minutes. The Valorians fought hard, but they weren't prepared for the quick and coordinated attacks of the human Marines. Step by step, deck by deck, the humans took control. At last, Howard's team reached the bridge. The door was locked, but the Marines placed small explosives around the edges. "Breach in 3, 2, 1, Howard counted down. The door blew open. Inside, 6 Valorians turned to face the humans. 5 of them raised weapons, but the 6th, wearing elaborate armor with glowing symbols, held up all 4 of his hands. "Stop," the Valorian commander said in a rasping voice. "Enough." Back on the Ranger, Captain Mitchell waited for news. When it came, relief spread across his face. "Commander Howard reports the Valorian ship is secure, sir," Samantha said. "Minimal casualties on both sides. They've captured the ship's commander." "Excellent work," Mitchell said. "Now let's talk to our friends on the planet." The connection to Elder Guardian Zintal was quickly reestablished. The blue-skinned alien's large eyes widened when she saw the humans again. "You have defeated a Valorian warship," she said, her voice full of wonder. "No one has ever done this before." "We came to help," Captain Mitchell said simply. "Can we send teams to your surface? We have medical supplies and food." Tears formed in Zintal's luminous eyes. "Yes, please. My people are suffering. We have hidden in caves since the attacks began 3 months ago. Our children are sick and hungry." Mitchell turned to Samantha. "Prepare relief teams immediately, and get Dr. Holt down there too. I want to know everything about the Ardani and what happened." Here. Hours later, human shuttles landed on the Ardani planet. The surface was a mess of destruction. Beautiful cities lay in ruins, forests burned. The air was thick with smoke. The Ardani emerged slowly from underground shelters. They looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and hope. Children with large, curious eyes hid behind adults, peeking out to see the strange visitors. Dr. Holt was the first to approach Zintal on the surface. He held out his hand in greeting, then remembered this might not be an Ardani custom. But Zintal reached out her slender blue hand and took his. "Thank you," she said. "We sent our cry into the darkness of space. We sent thousands of messages to thousands of stars. You are the only ones who answered." Dr. Holt felt a lump in his throat. "Why are the Valorians attacking you?" Zintal's face grew sad. "They conquer. It is what they do. They have taken 17 species under their control in this part of the galaxy. Some become slaves. Others, like us, they try to destroy completely." "But why destroy rather than enslave?" Holt asked. "Because we refuse to give them our children," Zintal said, her voice breaking. "The Valorians use a process they call neural harvesting. They take the brains of children and use them to power their technology. We said no, so they decided to kill us all." Dr. Holt felt sick. He reported this information to Captain Mitchell, who was still on the Ranger. Mitchell's face grew dark with anger. "We need to inform Earth immediately. This goes beyond a single distress call. We're looking at genocide." Meanwhile, Commander Howard was interrogating the captured Valorian leader. "Why attack a peaceful species?" Howard demanded. The Valorian commander looked at him with contempt. "The strong rule. The weak serve or die. This is the way of the universe." "Not anymore," Howard said. "Not if we have anything to say about it." Back on the planet, an Ardani child approached a human Marine named Lisa Garcia. The child offered a small flower that had somehow survived the destruction. Lisa took it gently and smiled. The child smiled back. Dr. Holt watched this exchange and turned to Zintal. "We will help you," he promised. "Earth will not stand by while your people suffer." "I have seen something in your kind," Zintal replied. "A fire in your eyes." "The Valorians do not understand this fire. What do you call it?" Dr. Holt thought for a moment. "Compassion," he said, "and justice." Captain Mitchell stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva. The large room was filled with leaders from every nation on Earth. Screens on the wall showed the images he had brought back from the Ardani world. Cities in ruins, injured children, and the horrifying data from the Valorian ship about neural harvesting. "These are the facts," Mitchell said, his voice firm. "The Valorians have conquered 17 species in their part of space. Those who submit become slaves. Those who resist are wiped out. The Ardani are being killed because they refuse to give up their children to be used as living computer parts." The room was silent. Then President Laura Bennett of the United Earth government stood up. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Mitchell," she said, "you have given us troubling information, but why should Earth get involved in a war between alien species? We have our own people to protect." Mitchell took a deep breath. "Madam President, members of the Council, I ask you this. If we stand by and watch as an entire species is wiped out when we have the power to help, what does that say about us? The Ardani called for help. We were the only ones who answered." From the back of the room, Admiral Patricia Turner stepped forward. "The captain is right. This isn't just about the Ardani. The data we captured shows the Valorians have been expanding their territory for centuries. Sooner or later they would reach human space. Better to face them now with allies than alone later." A man stood up from the Chinese delegation. "This would be the first interstellar war involving humans. The cost would be enormous." "Yes," Mitchell agreed, "but the cost of doing nothing would be greater." President Bennett called for a vote. For 3 days the council debated. Some nations wanted to stay out of the conflict. Others argued that humanity had a duty to help. On the 4th day, President Bennett addressed the council again. "I have reviewed all the evidence. I have spoken with military experts and ethicists, and I have made my decision." She paused, looking around the room. "These Valorians are conducting systematic genocide. If we stand by and do nothing, we betray everything that makes us human." The vote was close, but in the end, the council agreed. Earth would help the Ardani. President Bennett gave a speech to all the people of Earth that night. "Throughout our history," she said, "we have fought wars for land, for resources, for ideology. Today we fight for something greater. We fight because somewhere in the darkness someone cried out and we heard them." In a large room at GDI headquarters, military leaders from all Earth nations met. Chinese General Wei Li spread a star map on the table. Russian Admiral Sokolov pointed to Valorian supply lines. American General Frank Peterson discussed fleet movements. Old enemies worked side by side, planning humanity's first interstellar war. Admiral Turner stood at the head of the table. "The Valorians have numbers and territory," she said. "We have superior tactics, adaptability, and a moral cause. This won't be easy, but humanity has never backed down from defending the innocent." Meanwhile, in the weapons development lab, Major Olivia Wright studied the Valorian ship that had been brought back to Earth. She was a young officer with a brilliant mind for technology. "Look at this," she said to her team, pointing to the ship's shield generator. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical projectiles. But they have a weakness. They reset every 3.7 seconds. There's a tiny gap when they're vulnerable." Working day and night, Wright developed new weapons that could exploit this weakness. "If we time our attacks just right," she explained to Admiral Turner, "we can punch through their shields." On the Ardani homeworld, Lieutenant Samantha Reeves had stayed behind with a team to help the survivors. She worked closely with Elder Guardian Zintal, learning everything she could about the Valorians. "They attacked without warning," Zintal told her as they walked through a ruined city. "Their ships appeared in our skies. They demanded our children. When we refused, the bombing began." How many Ardani are left? Samantha asked quietly. Perhaps 10,000, spread across hiding places on 3 worlds, Zintal replied. We were once millions. Samantha reported this information back to Earth. It strengthened the resolve of the GDI forces preparing for war. Dr. Kevin Holt made another discovery in the Valorian ship's database. The Ardani aren't the only ones fighting back, he told Captain Mitchell. 2 other species, the Zyre and the Lith, are also resisting. If we can reach them, we might have more allies. Back on Earth, the largest fleet in human history was gathering in orbit. 5 carrier groups, 30 destroyers, and hundreds of fighter craft prepared to jump to Valorian space. Colonel Ryan Daniels was given command of the newest ship in the fleet, the USS Defiant. His vessel would carry a special passenger, Elder Guardian Zintal herself, who had come to Earth to help plan the attack. Your ship is impressive, Zintal told Daniels as they toured the Defiant. But the Valorians have thousands. It's not about numbers, Daniels replied. It's about how you use what you have. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've gotten very good at it. Now we'll use those skills to fight for you. The night before the fleet was to depart, Captain Mitchell visited the memorial for those who had died in the first contact with the Valorians. 20 humans had lost their lives taking the Valorian ship. He placed his hand on the wall where their names were engraved. We won't let you down, he whispered. Early the next morning, President Bennett addressed the fleet from her office in Geneva. Her face appeared on screens throughout every ship. You carry with you the hopes of Earth, she said. But more than that, you carry the hopes of the Ardani and all those who suffer under Valorian rule. Remember why we fight. Not for conquest. Not for glory. We fight because it is right. Admiral Turner gave the final order. All ships prepare to jump. One by one, the great vessels of Earth's fleet disappeared into the jump gates, heading for Valorian space. In his quarters aboard the USS Ranger, Captain Mitchell looked at a small blue flower given to him by an Ardani child. He placed it carefully in a small case and put it in his pocket. Then he walked to the bridge. Set course for the Valorian military base at Sector 12, he ordered. It's time to show these bullies that picking on the weak was a mistake. As the Ranger entered the jump gate, Mitchell thought about the long history of humanity. All the wars, all the fighting. For the first time, those hard-earned skills would be used to protect another species. Sometimes, he said quietly to himself, our greatest strengths come from our darkest experiences. The jump gate flashed, and the ship disappeared into the light. The war had begun. The human fleet came out of the jump gates at 5 different points in Valorian space. Their plan was to hit multiple targets at once. This way, the Valorians would not know which attack to respond to first. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Colonel Ryan Daniels watched as his ship emerged near a large Valorian space station. The station was shaped like a wheel with spikes coming out from all sides. It was a military base where Valorian ships were built and repaired. They haven't spotted us yet, said his second-in-command, Major Susan Lee. Surprise is on our side. Not for long, Daniels replied. All weapons target their communication array first. If they can't call for help, we have more time to do damage. The Defiant fired its new weapons, designed by Major Olivia Wright. The shots were timed perfectly to hit when the Valorian shields were resetting. The blue energy beams cut through the station's communication dishes like a knife through butter. Direct. Hit, Major Lee called out. Their communications are down. Now target their weapon systems and hangar bays, Daniels ordered. Across Valorian space, the scene was repeating. Earth ships appeared suddenly and struck hard at important targets. The Valorians, who had grown used to easy victories against weaker species, were caught off guard. In Sector 12, Captain Mitchell led the USS Ranger and 2 support ships against a Valorian military base on a small moon. The base was where Valorian soldiers were trained. Remember the Ardani, Mitchell said to his crew before the attack began. Soon these words spread through all the human ships. Soldiers and sailors repeated it to each other. Remember the Ardani. It became their battle cry. The first day of the war went well for the humans. Their surprise attacks damaged many important Valorian bases. They destroyed 20 enemy ships while losing only 2 of their own. But the Valorians were not defeated. They had a vast empire with thousands of ships. Soon they began to gather their forces. 3 days into the war, Lieutenant Commander Diana Cruz led a squadron of fighter craft from the carrier USS Independence. Their mission was to destroy a Valorian shipyard where new warships were being built. "Stay in formation," Cruz ordered her pilots as they approached the shipyard. "Remember your training. These aliens have better ships, but we have better pilots." The human fighters swooped in, firing missiles at the half-built Valorian ships. Explosions lit up space as valuable enemy resources were destroyed. Valorian defenders rushed to attack the human fighters. Their ships were larger and had stronger weapons, but Cruz and her pilots were quick and clever. They used the floating debris and the structures of the shipyard for cover. "They fly in straight lines," Cruz told her squadron. "Use that against them. Make them chase you past obstacles." The strategy worked. The Valorians, unused to fighting such agile opponents, crashed into debris or flew into traps where multiple human fighters could attack them at once. When they returned to the Independence, Cruz's squadron had destroyed the shipyard and 6 enemy fighters. They had lost only 2 of their own. "Remember the Ardani," Cruz whispered as she landed her fighter. Not all battles went as well. At Outpost Sigma 9, a key Valorian base, 3 human destroyers were caught in a trap. Hundreds of Valorian ships surrounded them. Despite fighting bravely, the destroyers were destroyed. Over 1,000 humans lost their lives. When news reached Earth, there was sadness but not defeat. More ships were already being built. More soldiers volunteered to fight. The war spread. Human forces found the planets where the Zir and Lith, the other species resisting the Valorians, were making their last stand. They brought supplies and weapons. They taught these aliens human fighting techniques. Soon, ships from 3 different species were attacking the Valorians together. The Zwire were insect-like beings who could build and repair ships very quickly. The Lith were made of living crystal and could survive in space without ships for short periods. Together with humans, they made a strong team. Lieutenant Samantha Reeves made an important discovery in the 4th week of the war. She found that the Ardani distress signal, when modified slightly, could disrupt Valorian communications. "Their technology is partly based on the neural harvesting," she explained to Admiral Turner. "It's tied to brain patterns. The Ardani signal mimics these patterns but in a way that confuses their systems." This discovery gave the human fleet a new weapon. By broadcasting the modified signal, they could make Valorian ships unable to coordinate with each other. In several key battles, this made the difference between victory and defeat. On the Valorian throne world, Supreme Hierarch Val Korath called his war council together. The tall, 4-armed alien sat on a throne made of metals taken from conquered worlds. "How is it possible that these humans cause us so much trouble?" he demanded. "They are newcomers to space. They should be easy to crush." His military advisor, General Dex Voran, looked nervous. "Supreme Hierarch, the humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't retreat when victory seems impossible. They become more dangerous when cornered." "Explain," Val Korath ordered. "In the Battle of the Crimson Nebula, we had their fleet outnumbered 3-1, Dex Voran said. "By all logic, they should have surrendered or fled. Instead, they changed tactics, broke into smaller groups, and inflicted heavy damage on our forces before escaping." Val Korath crushed a metal cup in his lower hands. "Find a weakness. Every species has one." "There is one possibility," Dex Voran suggested. "The humans seem very concerned about their casualties. Perhaps if we threaten to destroy their ships, with all hands aboard rather than capturing them, they might become more cautious." The Supreme Hierarch nodded. "Do it. Show them what happens when they interfere in matters beyond their understanding." The next day, a Valorian broadcast went out to all human ships. "Attention, humans. Your interference in our rightful conquests will no longer be tolerated. From this point forward, all human ships will be destroyed with no survivors. Surrender, now or face extinction." On the bridge of the USS Ranger, The crew looked to Captain Mitchell for his response. Mitchell smiled grimly. "Send them our answer. Remember the Ardani." The war entered its second month. The initial human surprise was gone, but now both sides were locked in a struggle that spanned dozens of star systems. It was the largest conflict the galaxy had seen in thousands of years, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Valorians were not winning. After 3 months of war, Earth forces had made good progress. They had freed 4 Ardani colonies and helped 2 other enslaved species break free from Valorian control, the insect-like Zir and the crystal-bodied Lith. These grateful aliens joined the fight against their former masters. The war had been costly for Earth. 27 ships had been destroyed. Thousands of brave men and women had lost their lives. But humanity was not fighting alone anymore. Admiral Patricia Turner called a meeting of leaders from all 3 allied species on the space station Hope, which orbited Earth. The station's large meeting room had been adjusted with different types of chairs to suit each species' body shape. "We have hurt the Valorians," Turner told the group, "but they still have vast resources. We need something that can end this war quickly before more lives are lost." Dr. Kevin Holt, who had first decoded the Ardani distress signal, stood up. "I believe we have that something, Admiral. For months, we've been working on Project Thunderclap." He showed them images of a large device. "This is an enhanced electromagnetic pulse weapon. When detonated, it can disable every electronic system within a huge area of space. It won't destroy Valorian ships, but it will make them helpless." Elder, Guardian Zintal of the Ardani, looked hopeful. "No destruction of ships means no more deaths?" "Exactly," Holt replied. "We can disable their fleet without killing their crews. Then our Marines can board and capture them." The Exire Queen clicked, her mandibles together. "My warriors will help your Marines. We owe humans a debt we can never repay. You freed us when we had lost all hope." Admiral Turner nodded. "Then it's decided. We will deploy Project Thunderclap at the next major engagement." That engagement came sooner than expected. Valorian forces gathered at Proxima Ridge, a region of space with many asteroid fields. From there, they planned to launch a massive attack on human territory. Captain Alan Mitchell, commanding the USS Ranger, was given the honor of carrying Project Thunderclap into battle. His ship had been repaired after taking heavy damage in earlier fights. "This device must be placed at the center of their fleet to work properly," Dr. Holt explained as the device was loaded onto the Ranger. "You'll need to get close, activate it, and jump away before it detonates." Mitchell looked at the large metal sphere that might end the war. "We'll get it done," he promised. The battle began 2 days later. The largest fleet Earth had ever assembled jumped into Proxima Ridge. 150 human ships plus 30 Exire vessels and 20 Lith crystal ships faced off against nearly 300 Valorian warships. "Remember the Ardani," Mitchell told his crew as they moved into position. The words had become more than a battle cry. They were a reminder of why they fought. The Ranger pushed deep into enemy territory, taking heavy fire from all sides. Lieutenant Samantha Reeves broadcast the modified Ardani signal, disrupting Valorian communications. This confusion allowed the Ranger to push even further into the enemy fleet. "Shields down to 30%, reported Officer Paul Nelson as the ship shook from another hit. "Keep going," Mitchell ordered. "We need to reach the center point." A Valorian cruiser moved to block their path. The Ranger's weapons blazed, damaging the enemy ship but not destroying it. They needed to get past. "Hard to port," Mitchell called. "Thread the needle between those 2 battleships." The Ranger's pilot, Lieutenant Grace Miller, guided the ship through a gap barely wider than the vessel itself. Enemy fire blazed all around them, but Miller's skill kept them moving. "We're at the deployment point," Reeves announced. "Launch Thunderclap," Mitchell ordered. "Start the countdown and prepare to jump." The large metal sphere was ejected from the Ranger's cargo bay. It floated in space, lights blinking on its surface as the countdown began. 30 seconds to detonation," Reeves called out. "Jump gate forming." Just then, a Valorian beam hit the Ranger's engine. The ship lurched violently. "Jump drive damaged," Nelson reported, his voice tight with fear. "We can't jump." Mitchell's mind raced. If they couldn't escape, they would be caught in Thunderclap's pulse. Their ship would be disabled, just like the enemy vessels. "Run west." "To all Allied ships," he ordered. "Ranger is damaged and cannot jump. Thunderclap will detonate in 20 seconds. Continue with the plan." "Sir, if we stay here," Reeves began. "I know." Mitchell cut her off. "But Thunderclap will still work. The mission comes first." As the seconds ticked down, a small Lith ship suddenly appeared alongside the Ranger. A message came through. "Captain Mitchell, this is Lith Captain Cora. My ship can tow yours. Attach quickly." The Ranger's grappling hooks shot out, connecting to the crystal ship. With incredible strength, the smaller vessel began pulling the human ship away from the blast zone. 10 seconds. Reeves counted down. They weren't going to make it far enough. Mitchell knew it, but he appreciated the Lith captain's bravery. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. A silent pulse spread out from Thunderclap. It was invisible to the eye, but its effect was immediate. Across the battlefield, Valorian ships went dark. Their lights shut off. Their engines stopped. Their weapons fell silent. The Ranger and the Lith ship were caught at the edge of the pulse. Half of their systems shut down, but they had enough power to avoid crashing into nearby asteroids. The battle was over. 300 Valorian ships floated helplessly in space. "Begin boarding operations," Admiral Turner ordered from her flagship. Marine teams from human, Gyre, and Lith ships moved to capture the disabled Valorian vessels. With their fleet captured, the Valorians had no choice but to negotiate. Supreme Hierarch Val Korath agreed to meet with Admiral Turner and representatives from all Allied species. The meeting took place on neutral ground, an ancient space station built by a long-vanished species. Val Korath arrived with his forearms crossed, his stone-like face showing no emotion. "You have won this battle," he admitted. "But the Valorian Empire is vast. We can build more ships. This war could continue for years." Admiral Turner nodded. "It could. And more would die on both sides. Or you could accept our terms." "Which are?" Val Korath asked. "Release all subjugated worlds," Turner said firmly. "Withdraw to your original territories, and the practice of neural harvesting. In return, we will release your captured ships and crews." Val Korath's yellow eyes narrowed. "Why would you humans, a species we never threatened, risk everything for aliens?" Admiral Turner's answer was simple. "Because they asked for help. Because they were suffering. That's all the reason we needed." The Supreme Hierarch couldn't understand this reasoning, but he recognized defeat. He signed the peace treaty. In the months that followed, a new alliance formed. The liberated species, with humanity as a founding member, created the Galactic Cooperative. It was dedicated to mutual protection and peaceful trade. Captain Mitchell, who lost his left arm in the Battle of Proxima Ridge, received a cybernetic replacement. He was honored as a hero and became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Cooperative. On the Ardani homeworld, children sang songs about Earth's warriors who came from beyond the stars. The X-Wire built monuments showing human Marines breaking their chains. On Earth, Memorial Day ceremonies now included tributes to those who fell liberating distant worlds. Schools taught the story of how humanity responded to a cry for help from the stars. 1 year after the peace treaty, sensors picked up a new distress signal. The avian Krell species was under attack from Valorian remnant forces who refused to accept the treaty. Within hours, a fleet of ships bearing the emblems of Earth and her allies jumped to respond. Commander Olivia Wright, newly promoted and commanding. The USS Vanguard opened a channel to the desperate Krell. "This is the Earth Defense Force. We heard your cry. Hold on, we're coming." And so it began again. Not for conquest, not for resources, but because somewhere in the vastness of space, someone needed help. And humanity had decided that was reason enough.